When in doubt, Jund 'em out. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we are going to be playing Jund. This was specifically submitted to me as an absolute greed pile. So this is from Renkia, and they said they tested this a handful. They did something like 40 games in the tournament practice room just to get a feel for it to see whether or not it would be viable. And they said they liked this enough as a starting point to submit it. So why this, why now? Frenzied Baloth is a bit of an interesting card. It is highly aggressive, especially if paired with something like an Exalted creature, which we do see in this deck list. It is good against the One Ring if that's relevant, although it's not particularly relevant in Legacy right now because some of the top decks are just tempo decks or decks that otherwise can race or ignore the One Ring. And this brings a new axis to the deck. Otherwise, it should come to no surprise as anyone who is playing Legacy if you can shove a bunch of Pyrogoyfs into a deck or a bunch of Tamios into a deck, or preferably both, they will absolutely just run away with a game. And the ability to copy your Pyrogoyfs or your Frenzied Baloths, or even better, your Pyrogoyfs with Fable of the Mirrorbreaker is pretty sweet. I am not going to change anything in this deck list, as the donor said that they have tested this already and the numbers more or less feel fine. I will say I am concerned that there are not enough mana sources in this deck once we get to actual play and we start seeing Wastelands. So we have Ignoble Hierarch to bridge us to our more expensive cards. We have Witherbloom Command to pick up lands and a couple copies of Malevolent Rumble. I'm still not sure if 20 lands is enough. And I think today I will err on the side of keeping hands that are a little bit mana heavy. We also have Hexing Squelcher to protect our various spells from counterspell or make our already annoying creatures a little bit more annoying to deal with. Beyond the raw number of lands in the deck, I am also concerned a little bit with the mana pip ratios. I think it is incredibly scary to play something like an Urborg in this deck. Anything that does not contribute to green pips here feels pretty questionable to me because of Frenzied Baloth and Keen-Eyed Curator as well. So I am really not sure about Urborg and basic Swamp in this deck. And similarly, once you get to post-sideboard games, when Dalthy Voidwalker is there as well, now anything that does not have black in it, like Taiga, becomes a liability as well. So when this was described to me as a greed pile, the first thing I asked was, did you test this? And the answer was yes, and we will see how this actually fares in real play. There are a bunch of very powerful cards here, and if we can cast them, hopefully we'll win some games. The sideboard has a couple bangers in it for certain matchups. We have some tools for Storm. We have the incredibly overcosted but powerful Culling Ritual, which can absolutely devastate some decks. Interestingly, it is something that can destroy a Tameo, even if it flips in the middle of casting this spell, which is not something that can be said about very many things within Legacy. I do really like the number of things that we can just board in and have a meaningful impact of versus most combo decks. So if we make it to turn 2, we're actually going to be doing okay. So folks, if you want to put together your own greed pile or even your own like optimized Legacy deck, if that's the kind of thing you're into, please consider getting the cards from toamagic.com. And when you do, use my promo code ThrabenU. You're going to get free shipping. You're going to get all your cards from one place in one envelope. It is super convenient. I like them a lot. So with that being said, let's battle. All right, first hand here from Renkia's Greed Pile honestly looks pretty good. Ignoble Hierarch into Fable into Pyrogoyf is a great start to this game. And again, while playing this deck, I think I'm going to lean slightly on the side of keeping rather than mulliganing land-heavy hands. Let's go ahead and fetch. Grab a Bayou, I guess. We could get a Taiga here as well. I don't think it matters We always want to be doing green early on for Frenzied Baloth purposes, but with 2 more fetch lands here, unless some crazy opposition agent shit happens, it should not matter. Opponent to 17, and they are doing artifact-based crimes here. See how many friends they end up making on turn 1. Would be a lot. Ooh, an Emery. I don't have removal. That'll land an Ancient Tomb. Yeah, it's an Ancient Tomb. Thoughtseize, perhaps not ideal. Like, I could take a card and Emery probably just gets it right back out of graveyard. So let's just get our red mana going so that we can Pyrogoyf next turn. Pick up something like a Taiga here. Row down on the Fable. And we're probably looting away this Thoughtseize to grow Pyrogoyf. I want Pyrogoyf. Ooh. Maybe Fable Pyrogoyf just ends up handling that. I'll take some damage here. Going to 16. Opponent just does their Pinnacle Emissary, which they had warped out previously, and that probably means that they're just gonna bobble. Oh, another Mox Opal. Sure. So many drones. All right, opponent is going for the 3/4 Memory Guardian. This is a ton of damage. So 1, 2, 3. This is my 4th mana. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to get rid of Thoughtseize. Probably get rid of a land as well. Pyrogoyf is cool. I think I just have to start here. If I don't start here, killing Emery, everything else can just end up coming back. I don't know that I beat the stuff that my opponent already has on the board, though. This is just 7 power worth of flying. I guess I get to play Pyrogoyf next turn and re-trigger Pyrogoyf. So I've got that going for me. Urza Saga ticks up. Eat 7. Go to 9. Bobble. Alright. This becomes the other side. I have 5 mana to work with, kind of 6 with Malevolent Rumble. I think I will go ahead and cast this card. Questing Beast do anything interesting? Not really. I think I will be taking it anyway. So I will throw down on a land. Do this. Pyrogoyf triggers. I probably kill the Memory Guardian here. So the Pyrogoyf is doing the damage here, meaning that I do gain some life, which is kind of huge if I'm being honest. I am worried about something like Trample coming off of this Urza Saga token here. Oh, hot damn. The Jund Green pile works out. GG's. So once we get to my next turn, I can do something like copy Pyrogoyf and get 2 triggers off of it and kill both Urza Saga tokens or something. Or copy Pyrogoyf, nuke one thing, swing in for at least 8 points of lifelink. Happy to win that one though, for sure. I mean, yes, this is what we're here for. Absolutely. Collector Oof, absolutely. And honestly, most of the cards in my sideboard are viable. I think I want to get rid of Thoughtseize. I think this game is going to be much more about the board. Go for the Throat is slightly awkward. I might be keeping it. It's a thing that kills Emery, but I have other things that kill Emery specifically. This can be a lot of damage versus my opponent if I get it down. Feels like a pretty big if. Minsk and Boo feels slow. I'm going to get rid of that. I think I'm going to get rid of Go for the Throats. And then basically all of this stuff feels reasonable. I might just lower my curve and put some other creature in place of Questing Beast. It's a reasonable thing. Let's do a couple Pyroblasts. Let's do a couple removal spells that can nuke Urza Saga. And then this one? This is symmetrical, right? Let's not do that one. Do a couple in... Maybe I don't want to clear my opponent's graveyard. It's like these being big matters. All right, one more Pyroblast. And this... Yeah. I think there's a good jillion different ways that are reasonable to sideboard there. 2 lands. Not castable. Scary combination of cards for the endgame here. I think I don't keep this one. I have a bunch of things like Collector Oof that are relatively strong haymakers. Not happening this time. I think I'm going to keep this. I think I'll get rid of Frenzied Baloth. I get to keep a removal spell. It's not the most efficient thing in the world, but I also have some mana ramp and a Pyrogoyf. Sure. And a Barogoyf now. Barogoyf, Pyrogoyf, gaming. Grab Bayou, throw down a mana dork. I need to check and see which Surveil lands are in this deck. It matters for my sequencing over multiple turns if I don't have enough of them. Mox Opal is very good here. This is a lot of damage right now. Oh, fuck. It's worse. Kappa Cannoneer right now. Wait. That's fine. This is also interesting. All right. Now let's see what my Surveil land situation is like. Yeah, so it is Underground Mortuary, so it's probably correct in this instance to do Taiga on turn 1. That's something I need to keep in mind for the future. I don't think I get to throw down Squelcher first before doing this edict. That's just way too dangerous. So please sacrifice a non-token creature of your choice. I guess I'll attack for 1 instead here. Now get Taiga. Edict. Sacrifice a non-token creature of your choice. Yeah. Very nice. Force of Will blue card would have been devastating there. In for 1 point of damage. I just can't let that Kappa Cannoneer connect. The good news is, since my opponent played Kappa Cannoneer, they only get 1 construct out of this. Shadow Spear? Question mark? Bouncy Spell Bomb? Also a reasonable thing. Oh, just a redraw. Ooh. I might need to Witherbloom command away those boots so that I don't get attacked for pretty close to lethal next turn. Oof. Absolutely rocked there. Well, that's not the worst. So I can go ahead and Witherbloom command, destroying a thing and getting a land. So get a land, destroy a thing. 1 and 2, tapping for green. I don't know that I'm going to get to deploy these things before I effectively am dead. I hope I do. I will fetch, pick up a Badlands for the sake of variety. Edict. I think I get rid of the token. There's something to be said for getting rid of Memory Guardian and then hoping that I spike the Calling Ritual, but I don't think I'm going that route. This Pyrogoyf is a 6/7. Like, that is big. So I can use it to potentially get rid of Memory Guardian or a Construct token if my opponent does that early for some reason, and then hopefully play Barogoyf and effectively end the game. That's the plan. Emery Kappa Cannoneer is scary. Pinnacle Emissary as well. Oh, my Kingdom for 1 more mana here. Pyrogoyf plus Pyroblast would be so insane. If I play Barogoyf this turn and my opponent has an Aether Spellbomb, Aether Spellbomb bouncing Barogoyf is very bad. I think this is still happening. Nuke Emery, and we are hoping for no Spellbomb. So my opponent makes a creature. It's a 4/4. I do die if my opponent has the Spellbomb taking this line. But they didn't have it last game. Maybe they don't this game. I think they should. This is not progressing at the pace of this is easy lethal. All right, Construct. Yeah, they don't have it. Hot damn. Nice. It's a Kappa. Kappa is scary. Ooh, opponent is in for 7. I mean, I have to block it. I have to take that trade. I don't have a choice. That's unfortunate. And we'll see whether or not my value greed pile does some cool stuff over time here. Ripping more Goyfs would be nice. So I will do this. This is a 6/7. I think I have to kill the Construct, as tempting as it is to try to go to face here. Let's just kill that. And I don't know, maybe I have lethal next turn. Like, the Pyrogoyf can attack for 8 with the 2 exalted things. If my opponent taps an Ancient Tomb, like, maybe they're done. Pinnacle Emissary with Warp, triggering Kappa Cannoneer, and triggering Kappa Cannoneer again. The token creatures here can only block creatures with flying. Kappa gets big. Kappa probably kills me next turn. I don't die right now. We'll see if my opponent attacks me for 11 or just 8. Just 8. That seems reasonable and good. Next turn, they could potentially just cast Pinnacle Emissary from exile and have the necessary thing to push Kappa Cannoneer through one more time. So I will Squelch. I will play a Hierarch. I will send in for 8 with 2 Exalted triggers. And I believe that I am deterministically dead to my opponent playing Pinnacle Emissary. We'll make him do it. That's a Saga. And this will be the unblockable trigger there. You've got it. GG. Ye Old Greed Pile will get another go. Damping Sphere slightly better on the play. Thoughtseize technically slightly better on the play as well. Although I don't know that I want to lose the life when I'm trying to like get to things like this. I think I'm just going to consider this acceptable. We haven't seen counterspells out of my opponent yet, I don't think. So some of these things like Hexing, Squelcher, and Frenzied Baloth aren't quite pulling their weight. Now we may just see them this game instead, and then I'll be like, ooh, neat. Okay, I have reasonable cards here. I'm going to keep this hand. I think I give up the Mana Dork on turn 1 to hold up Pyroblast or Pinnacle Emissary. Countering that is sort of a big deal. So I will pass turn here. Urza Saga. Ancient Tomb instead. It is Patchwork Automaton. That is something that does not get eaten by Pyroblast, making my play very awkward. Alright. Could have been much worse, though. I will use this turn to Underground Mortuary, so this is not the end of the world. I will say no to a swamp. Assassin's Trophy. There are lines available to me involving that card. The Pinnacle Emissary warp nonsense could happen this next turn as well. I think I'm just going to Squelch, pick up a Taiga, and just not have my stuff be countered. I think forcing Malevolent Rumble through or forcing an Assassin's Trophy with Ward paid for through could be a big deal. Or alternatively, I just like play Assassin's Trophy into the Ward trigger because of my Hexing Squelcher and kill Patchwork Automaton that way. It's a pretty big blowout if my opponent can remove Hexing Squelcher with Assassin's Trophy on the stack. And if any colorless mana is available, that's something that can happen off of a Dismember. So we'll see how we're feeling. Shadow Spear. All right, cool. This probably taps my opponent out. Oh, it's a fucking Dismember! That was a Dismember worth a very large amount of life. I would like to kill this Shadow Spear. I'd also like to kill that Patchwork Automaton that is fucking swole. I might be going for an Assassin's Trophy with Pyroblast backup when my opponent equips Shadow Spear. I would really like to cast Malevolent Rumble to find a Goyf, though. 14. And cycle. Alright. Oh, shit. That can save Assassin's Trophy for later. This is a sorcery. I will have to do this on my own turn. Is Drain ever viable? No, I think I need the mana still. So get land, destroy Shadow Spear, 1 and 2. I think I can just pick up... It doesn't need to be a fetch. I can just pick up a Badlands. All right. Have Pyroblast available. I am going to hold Pyroblast up. Eat 4 damage to a Patchwork Automaton attack. Going to 10. And we're chilling. Malevolent Rumble represents a token to block Patchwork Automaton for a turn. I think I am into that. So, yeah. All right, there's a Goyf. I think that's stronger than Oof. I will play out an Ignoble Hierarch here. We will wait to play this with Pyroblast backup. Totally fine using Eldrazi Spawn token as a pseudo Time Walk. Opponent has a bunch of cards. I am presuming that some number of them are Pyroblastable things. So, block here. All right, opponent is passing the turn. Oh, huh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. 2. Yeah. So 1 and 2 for Frenzied Baloth. All right, Renkia, you were cooking. I will not get to see exactly how good that was, but I'm presuming that it was good. So there's Pyrogoyf. Ooh, it's a dismember. Opponent to 3. Force of Will. Pitching Kappa. Pyroblast. Targeting Force of Will. Opponent shows themselves the door. Hot damn. Greedy ass Jund pile gets there. GG. Today's video is sponsored by moxfield.com. If you're looking to store your decks online, you're not going to find a better website. It's super organized and easy to use, and I sort everything that I do into a ton of format-specific folders, and you can customize the way that you use Moxfield to your liking. Whether you like text views or visual views of multiple different natures, Moxfield has it all. And it's so easy to use, you might even say that it's a snap. All right, I am on the play. My opening hand is Mana Light. I have a defensive thing that I can do on mana. I have a Keen-Eyed Curator, and I can Verdant Catacombs, but Verdant Catacombs for a Surveil land doesn't actually produce red mana. I think, accordingly, this one is sketchier than it looks. I'm going to mulligan this one. Yeah, I like this better. I think I'm going to keep this one, pitch the Sheoldred's Edict, and try to go turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. I'm going to grab a Taiga here, because Taiga will tap for all of the colors once I play an Urborg. Opponent started to pay the cost of some free spell here. Ooh. Eldrazi. I'm not going to play this Urborg out. That makes their Eye of Ugin considerably better, because it starts to tap for mana as well. So let's instead lay out a Hexing Squelcher. If I had things to do other than that, I would probably do them this turn, but it's either play Hexing Squelcher or Surveil. Those are my only options, and this can hopefully attack for 3. The disaster case here is Thought-Knot Seer taking Pyrogoyf. That did not happen immediately. That is not to say that it's not going to happen, because Eye of Ugin is kind of a busted card. Chalice is fine. Yeah. Was that just to get some extra damage into Thought-Knot Seer? No? Okay. 17, 16. Oh gosh. Everybody is so big. All right. Thoughtseize is a thing. This is luckily... Oh no, you're tiny. This is a child. No. No. Okay. Everybody calm down. It's fine. I guess we're doing this instead. Mom, my opponent had 2 Eldrazi line breakers. Was that a colored land in hand to cast too? Yeah. Okay. That's big. We can tap out here. Absolutely fucking disgusting hand from my opponent. GG. What do I have in terms of removal? Not a lot. We're kind of hoping that the stuff that I have in game 1 is good enough, and it clearly was not this time. I'm going to play an Assassin's Trophy. Sometimes I would be willing to point that at one of my opponent's lands. I'm willing to use it as a removal spell on creatures for sure. Damping Sphere is, I guess, fine. Not excited about it in a non-ancient tomb deck. It makes my opponent's lands tap for less, but they're still producing something. Let's think about that. I don't know that I want this, despite the fact that it can take out spawns. The way that I win is making it to this stuff. Squelcher and Baloth can help with Chalice of the Void if my opponent is still playing that, which I don't know that they should be. I have a decent amount of haste damage in my deck. Sometimes I can just turn the corner. I'm going to not Damping Sphere. Okay, hand is awkward. The ETB tapped land is pretty costly. So I could go turn 1 Hierarch, turn 2 Go for the Throat or Frenzied Baloth. Turn 3 if I hit a land I have Minsk and Boo. Is that fine? Maybe? Maybe I just need to believe in the deck here. My mana base absolutely cannot afford Wastelands. But this is the sort of matchup where Wasteland is really, really important. Okay, I think my opponent stepped away from the computer for a little while, but they are back. Or maybe they're still distracted. We've got a secluded courtyard, and my opponent is passing their turn. I will go ahead and do a Frenzied Baloth. Now my opponent's counterspells are off. I just become the beatdown here. Hitting for 4 immediately. I'll now Surveil. You know, this is the sort of card that I would like in this matchup, but if you take a look at the graveyards, not the best. Do I keep it anyway because I have Malevolent Rumble? I don't know that I do. Mins can put on creatures with trample or haste. I can make the thickest Frenzied Baloth here. Opponent to 14, playing out an Eldrazi Linebreaker. They crash back in for some damage. I go to 16. Abrupt Decay is totally fine and good. How do I play this out? I think I can probably just hold up Decay and Malevolent Rumble this turn. So yeah, Pyrogoyf is fine. I'll pick that up. I think I will still Abrupt Decay the Linebreaker while getting in 4 points of damage myself. Opponent to 10 with an Ancient Tomb. To 8. Back to 10. Grim Monolith. This was worth life. Thought-Knot Seer can resolve. I don't think I respond because Go for the Throat kills this and Abrupt Decay also kills this. So I will just let my opponent make their decision. Honestly, all 4 cards in my hand are just bangers. Alright, opponent takes a removal spell. Playing an It That Heralds the End. This is probably my time to go ahead and Abrupt Decay you. Like so. Alright, so Frenzied Baloth could be attacking as a 7 power creature. Opponent is at 8. Think I'm kinda just in for that. Yeah. There's Minsk and Boo. This also just makes me a 1/1 blocker for Thought-Knot Seer. Yes. Plus Frenzied Baloth. 6/5 creature becomes 7/6 creature from hell. Jund, baby. Next game. Do I want a Culling Ritual? Opponent also has Grim Monoliths. I don't know if adding more 4-drops to the deck is my answer. Let's say no. This is a 1-land double ignoble hierarch situation. It's not even a fetch land for the purposes of Witherbloom command. The fail case is both turn 1 Chalice on 1 and I miss a land drop in 2 draws. I think that is acceptable. Hitting 1 land drop will chain me into future land drops. I have removal. Frenzied Baloth can be attacking for 5 very, very quickly. I think this is worth risking. Definitely sketch, but I think worth risking. I do have all 3 of my colors already, assuming no Chalice of the Void. And I just have answers to Chalice here. It That Heralds the End. Acceptable. Another Frenzied Baloth is not the land that I am looking for. But this first turn was always going to more or less play out that way. The Witherbloom command probably not killing any of my opponent's creatures directly. Especially with It That Heralds the End in play. Glaring Fleshraker is around. Alright, that is a Wayscape Battle Mage. I'm at 18, and then I'm going to take 2 from an attack and go to 16. Would like to hit the land here. Ooh, we're not done. There's another Wayscape Battle Mage. Understood. Alright, I did hit the land. Which one of these cards actually represents more damage right now? So this is representing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. I think this is the scarier card right now. Glaring Fleshraker, absolutely a long-term problem, though. I guess I don't let my opponent know that that's coming. Play out a new Hierarch and pass the turn with Decay available. So if my opponent has a Curve Topper like Reality Smasher, yeah, life is terrible. All right, not gonna think about the math. That just needs to die. And then however much damage my opponent deals me, they deal me. I don't think I can come back from the Reality Smasher realistically. Oh, there's something else too? Oh, Dismember? Not even given the option to block. Literally goldfished on turn 3 through blocker. Well, potential blocker anyway. GG, you earned that one. Okay, opening hand is totally fine. Again, I think we want to err on the side of keeping hands that have too much land rather than mulliganing them. Let's see what opponent is doing. Are we underground sea gamers or good, honest, fair gamers? Onder. What do you think? Show and tell? Got that old school vibe going on. This island with Scythe Cat Cub, what do you think? Show and tell with the Allurin nonsense that's hot right now? I'm just gonna Thoughtseize. I want to know what's going on over there. I'm so good at this. I'll take the show and tell. Like, as much as I want to take that brainstorm, because damn, that is a good brainstorm. I'm just not going to let the top card of their library be something that kills me. It is Stock Up. Great card. So my Witherbloom command is not particularly strong here. My Goyf is probably going to get big quickly. Like, artifacts and instants are pretty likely to hit the graveyard over the next few turns. What are my sideboard options like? Pretty reasonable, at least for this style of deck. All right, Lotus Petal was played out. I can kill that with a Witherbloom command, and I probably will. I'm going to mill just to grow the Pyrogoyf for the future. Green and black. Opponent sacrifices for the mana, obviously. I will pick up a forest. If they want to cash in the brainstorm now, they do. I'm going to assume that the second Ancient Tomb ends up being gone after that Polluted Delta. I'm a little off-kilter in terms of mana here. These Goyfs are getting big, and I might be able to hit my opponent with a Barogoyf once or twice, and then make it so that a Pyrogoyf put in via a show and tell ends up being lethal. Alright, there's that, and again, we're going to assume that that Ancient Tomb is gone. Oh, it's happening. This one? This is not killing a creature that my opponent puts in. Maybe I put in the Death Toucher. Sephiroth, aka Atraxa. What a fucking called shot from seeing the basic island art. Doubters in shambles. It would not be absolutely batshit insane for me to win this game. I don't think it should happen. Alright, Show and Tell, Omniscience, Force of Will, Boseiju. Alright, are we doing crimes now? Feels like you should probably do crimes now. You are not going to do crimes now. Another land is not what I'm looking for. Exalted or leave open the ability to play a 3-drop creature. There are not very many 3-drop creatures in my deck. There are only 3, the other copies of Barogoyf. So I think I'm going Exalted Duder here. And we can both play Lifelink the Gathering. Ooh, tradesies. I like the thing that results in my opponent not having an Atraxa in play. However, with Show and Tell and Omniscience over there already, like, life's bad. My opponent's also above their starting life total, despite having, like, Ancient Tomb and Force of Will and fetch lands and such. Opponent says no to a second Hedge Maze. Oh, I just get another turn? Hot damn. We'll take it. Wasn't really expecting that. My opponent is, like, nearing the point where they could just cast the Omniscience. I'll say no to Abrupt Decay. Okay, cool. Thoughtseize target you. I imagine you Force of Will that to protect the Show and Tell. Yes. So then I will drop a land, throw down a Pyrogoyf, send damage at face. This will clock relatively quickly. Uh-oh. I'll put in a Bloodstained Mire. There's Omniscience. Opponent is tapping mana. They are Bosejuing my land. Yes. I will pick up a different land. Oh, they just are putting the Omniscience in play. They don't have a follow-up. Alright, Abrupt Decay. Bud, you're not what I'm looking for right now. This game comes down to a single card draw. This comes down to what is the top card of my opponent's library. With this in play, this doesn't matter anymore. I will play that out in case we get into some Emrakul number of permanents matter situation. Fuck. Alright, so my opponent now gets to tutor for a card. Could be anything. It is an Atraxa Grand Unifier. So now my opponent looks at 10 cards. There's 2 more Atraxas and a stock up there. And a Force of Will. So realistically, I'm now dead. Lotus Petal, stock up, Atraxa, Force of Will. Yeah. I'm just going to keep the Force of Will there to remind myself of that. The rest of that I don't care about. Well, I mean, I care about it, but... Okay, so here is the win condition. So what should happen is that my opponent will now bounce this repeatedly to go through a dungeon, and since they can just bounce a Sararak repeatedly and cast it for free through Omniscience, this can drain me for 1 each time they complete a dungeon. However, I do have an Abrupt Decay, so I can stop that. I will, however, just die to the other nonsense that my opponent does, or they can cast another Atraxa and then find it. Yeah, so here is the dungeon that kills me, and the dark pools in the middle there drains me out while my opponent draws all of their cards through the temple at the end as well. It's really sweet. Stock up. That's another formidable speaker. This can now tutor for an Emrakul if my opponent has one. Just another Atraxa. We're going that route. That's fine. Note that these decks only play 1 copy of a Sararak, so there's not just another immediate I win button. And note that Allurin is the other way to go infinite with a Sararak. So you get a decent amount of redundancy with your I win button. Let's go ahead and skip ahead to relevant plays here. My opponent is probably going to take a very large number of game actions. Oh, no. No, they're not. That's just immediate discard. Yeah, without an Emrakul, I guess my opponent doesn't just win now. Hexing Squelcher. So this is a 7/7. This is not quite big enough to get through. This is a 6/7. We're real close. I mean, we will Squelch and pass. This is Vigilant, which is a pain in the butt. I mean, I guess even if it wasn't, my opponent could untap it. I'll eat some damage. We are going further with Atraxa. Yeah, I mean, you can, like, stock up more or whatever. It is unclear to me if my opponent can easily win with their Sararak removed if I answer Atraxa. Because that's the last Atraxa, right? So if I kill that Atraxa, I think I win. Huh. Yeah, like, no Emrakul, kind of a big deal in terms of, like, this kill situation. All right, City of Traders hits play. Yeah, opponent is just discarding a bunch of cards. And if they don't have Emrakul in the first place, they also just can't get these things back. Shit, Pyrogoyf goes to a 6/7? Fuck yeah. Questing Beast uncounterably as well. Sick. So there's Questing Beast. Attack with a 7/8 Pyrogoyf that I think my opponent has to chump block with Formidable Speaker. Play another Formidable Speaker, absolutely. Maybe I should have attacked with Questing Beast as well since it has Death Touch. No. I wanted the extra point here. It being 7 matters. Although maybe Questing Beast attacking there gets through Formidable Speaker blocks. It's less about removing the Atraxa and more about trying to clock my opponent before they can hit me with Atraxa. Yeah, I think I was supposed to attack with just Questing Beast there. No, Atraxa is... Yeah, Atraxa is gaining life. Ooh. Nice. So, this Pyrogoyf... Let's cast it for free with Allurin. Uncounterable. Pyrogoyf triggers. Pyrogoyf says, whenever this creature or another Lorgoyf enters, that creature deals damage to its power equal to any target. This has Death Touch. Pyrogoyf the Atraxa. Veil of Summer. This trigger is red. That doesn't work. Go to Punchies? Yeah. Oh, I don't believe that. I mean, like, the Formidable Speaker stuff is really cool and quite good, but there's such a real cost to not having Emrakul as an alternative angle. Yeah, opponents had thought that would work, TBH. Yeah, the trigger is still red. All right, 3 copies of Pyroblast. This is non-creature. This is still probably good enough. 1 copy of Damping Sphere is fine. No to Culling Ritual, no to Endurance. Assassin's Trophy and Douthie Voidwalker are things I can think about, but that I'm not overly interested in. Abrupt Decay as an instant for answering a Sararak is fine. Witherbloom Command is not overly exciting here. What about the removal spells? Go for the Throat is a thing that can kill an Atraxa. Also kills a Sararak. Shoulder's Edict may or may not kill what I want it to kill. I think I'm going to get rid of Minsk and Boo. Questing Beast attacks through Formidable Speaker. That's something. Yeah, the Voidwalker also does that on 2 mana instead of 4. I'll probably get rid of Keen-Eyed Curator here. This gives me a decent number of things that can attack and a Sararak combo line. This stuff as well. I think I will get rid of Grist. Then things are starting to feel tight. Maybe just no. Is Assassin's Trophy better than something like Go for the Throat? Assassin's Trophy can also answer an Allurin or an Omniscience, technically. Yeah, okay. This is 61. Sort this. Malevolent Rumble is a little slow. I've got 15 seconds. I probably just need to fill the deck with some last card. I think I am probably 1 card over on the number of 2 mana removal spells that I should be playing. Opening hand is not exciting. I have a thing that I can attack with on turn 2, a reasonable play on turn 3. I think I can do better than this. Like, I have counter spells, I have some hate bears. Thoughtseize is quite good. The Mana Dork on turn 1, honestly, is very good. I think I'm willing to mulligan once. Okay, yeah. This is fine. I think I just get rid of all of my threats. We'll win the game somehow later. Tropical Island. Yeah, we are hyper interactive here, at least by the standards of a non-blue deck. Basic Island. End of turn, I'll Surveil. It's a little awkward because, like, I don't have double Pyroblast up. I'll say no to a land. Squelcher. If my opponent casts Show and Tell, I put in a Damping Sphere. I would rather they not cast a Show and Tell, though. I don't think I get to Squelcher this turn. I think I just hold up Pyroblast, and if my opponent casts a stock up, I still probably Pyroblast it. You get to have that, though. It's a dangerous brainstorm in the face of Orcish Bowmasters, which is not in my deck, but is like a super reasonable thing to be in my deck that I would be thinking about in their position. 3rd land drop. Ponder is fine. And then opponent is passing the turn. I don't use my mana effectively. That is what it is. Now, which angle do I go with here? Kinda just into Squelcher, although it's awkward if my opponent plays Allurin. Yeah, I think I'll Damping Sphere then. So, yeah. Alright, in play. Opponent fetches. Boseiju could answer my Damping Sphere. Negative. Keeping a card on top. My Pyroblasts become a little better here. It becomes harder for my opponent to fight back. Certainly not impossible. I will Pyroblast that. That's a good card. We'll get a Taiga and Pyroblast the stock up. Damping Sphere means you can't veil this. Excellent. So now I will go ahead and throw down my first clock of the game, which is a little unfortunate as it is turn 4. But I have interaction for a Sararak and interaction for Show and Tell. That is a stock up. I will Pyroblast this. Again, I suspect that my opponent has Veil of Summer, but the Damping Sphere is keeping them from casting it. Does mean that I have fewer defenses versus a Show and Tell, but I think if I don't excuse me, if I don't stop the stock ups, I probably have other long-term problems. All right. There's City of Traders going bye-bye. It produces 1 mana due to Damping Sphere. That is a Formidable Speaker. My opponent discards Allurin, finding another Formidable Speaker. we might just be in Formidable Speaker midrange mode. I'm not... Do I use my Abrupt Decay? I have enough mana that I probably don't need to use it immediately. So there's Ignoble Hierarch. I will now do this. My opponent just junked an Alurin, which makes me feel better about doing that. Oh, right. I played around that for so long. Then I will throw down my land drop and pass. So, Formidable Speaker number 2 is just going to tutor for Formidable Speaker number 3, potentially, and just clog the board up so it is harder for me to attack. And this will buy my opponent time until they can assemble Show and Tell for Atraxa. Yep, another Formidable Speaker. They could potentially attack with 1 here. I am just going to take lands out of my deck. This is very, very marginal thinning. I don't mind doing it. Ooh, nice. So there's Fable. Would be reasonable for my opponent to have a counterspell here. Doesn't happen. Excellent. Pass turn. I believe my opponent's deck has a bunch of copies of Hedge Maze, so we'll see another here. Rather than thinning my deck by playing out at the second Bloodstained Mire, I also could have held Bloodstained Mire specifically for Fable. A little weird to think about that because I think Fable is a 2 of, so I don't know that that's worth doing. I guess it also bluffs Pyroblast. Opponent also quite far behind on clock. They did a lot of churning through their deck in a way that wasn't super profitable last game. So they Formidable Speaker, paying an extra mana due to Damping Sphere, discarding Alurin, and picking up the last Formidable Speaker. So next time this picks up an Atraxa for the future. Yeah. And now we're going to start to see this. I am fine taking that hit for now. 15. Frenzied Baloth. That is a perfectly average card. I'm going to try to do better than that. Thoughtseize. Sure. I think that's worth casting. The Formidable Speaker as just a creature with power and toughness might be scarier than Atraxa here. Is weird. Because I'm just trying to ride out this Formidable Speaker situation until Fable of the Mirrorbreaker copies a Goyf and I win the game. I'm going to take that Formidable Speaker, leaving my opponent with an Atraxa. My attacks in are not good currently, but like life becomes a little scary for me if my opponent just turns all 3 Formidable Speakers sideways. 2 of them get turned sideways. I'm going to take the hits this turn and see what I draw in terms of Fable. An Edict? An Edict is fine. My attacks in aren't great. I'll pass the turn. I think I'll upkeep Sheoldred's Edict. Please sacrifice a non-token creature of your choice. Get rid of 1 Formidable Speaker. I think I am now stable versus dying to Formidable Speakers, considering that Reflection of Kiki-Jiki can just copy some creatures that can block indefinitely. So now we just want to dodge the Show and Tell for Atraxa. Force of Vigor. Ward paying the life there. This also gets rid of Damping Sphere, so some other combo lines open back up. An opponent is staying on the defensive here. I don't know if that is correct or not. So there's Frenzied Baloth. This can attack in as a 4-power creature. So I am fine doing that. Exalted Trigger. An opponent can put both of these in front if they want to kill Frenzied Baloth. Yep. All right, cool. So land drop number 6 over there. That is an Alurin. Opponent is playing this with no immediate combo kill. I don't attack in profitably here. Oh, I guess I can cast Pyrogoyf with Alurin. I'll just do that on my opponent's turn. Yes. Weird game of Magic going on here. Ponder Shuffles. I think I want to cast this at end of turn, so Veil of Summer can't be cycled during my opponent's turn to cast something at sorcery speed that matters. Alright, cast for free with Alurin. Alright, we're in play. Opponent also did not cycle Veil of Summer. Ooh, that's interesting. So here is 8 incoming damage. More importantly, or sorry, 7. More importantly, this is life gain for me. This is fine. Opponent passes. I don't think I Boseiju Alurin until something goes on the stack. I think my opponent is through all of their copies of Formidable Speaker. So with an Acererak on the stack, I can just Boseiju Olurin, and then this keeps the flexibility of doing something versus an Omniscience as well. All right, very nice. We're up to K, not super relevant. Is there an... Yes, there is an artifact in graveyard. Okay, cool. So punchies, 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 punchies. Goblin Shaman finally makes a treasure token. Opponent gets hit for a lot, going to 4. Say yes to this. Oh, pick up a Pyrogoyf. Hexing Squelcher making this uncounterable. Yeah. That was a neat game. I came out ahead of there. That was a 2-0. Relatively long one, though. GG's. All right, putting my money where my mouth is, I'm going to keep a land-heavier hand that I normally might consider mulliganing. If Witherbloom Command doesn't do anything on turn 2, this is like very much not exciting. But I'm going to kind of have faith that like a couple of Barogoyfs is a decent amount of endgame. And that if I can cast all of the like chunky greedy as hell spells in my deck, I will win a decent portion of the time. Verdant Catacombs Mirror. You think it is the 75 card mirror match? Possible, technically. Let's say no. That might be a reasonable card if my opponent is playing something like Cradle Control. Oh, hell yeah, that's great. That's so good here. This keeps Witherbloom Command as something that can potentially remove a creature. And I just get to punch my opponent in the face. Art on this card is sweet, by the way. Get in there, bud. 17. Let's see what this Verdant Catacombs is doing. My guess is this. Oh, I'm wrong. It is Underground Sewers, in which case Frenzied Baloth might have been fucking hot. Underground Sea to the bin. Opponent has enough mana. And we have some more selection. Oh, are you missing a land drop? It is so fucking bad if they miss a land drop while I have Frenzied Baloth in play and my Barogoyfs become uncounterable. Okay, no. They do have it. Neat. Let's start by hitting my opponent with the Frenzied Baloth, or at least attempting to see if some sort of fatal push type thing happens. Negative. Opponent to 13. I think I'm just going to Thoughtseize, honestly. Like, if this is actually a combo deck like Doomsday, Thoughtseizing here is a big deal. Opponent fetches. It is Taiga? So we're storming. Okay. That makes casting Witherbloom Command with the rest of my mana extremely awkward. Now I can't do the target side. I could use it to pick up a land. That's not how I want to use that card. There's already a sorcery in graveyard. I think I simply do not cast the Witherbloom Command. Opponent cantrips. They passed the Bowmaster test, unfortunately. Hexing Squelcher. Sure. I will send in for 3 points of damage. Bring my opponent to 9. 3, 6, 7, 8. 8 damage is easy. Witherbloom Command probably mills a card that results in Barogoyf plus Witherbloom Command killing next turn. Technically playing Yavimaya makes my opponent's mana ever so slightly much better. I don't know how relevant that actually is. My opponent has 6 cards in hand and can presumably surveil again here. Full on Jetmir's Garden. That is cycling a Veil of Summer. Let's see. Who's dead? Me or you? Not me yet. 7 cards in hand. It begins. Beseech under there. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. LED. More other LED. Gamble. Could be anything, folks. Oh man, an Echo of Eons. Opponent going for cracking both LEDs here. This will put the LEDs back into the deck. Echo. Don't really have castable cards on my opponent's turn in game 1. We'll have a pile of Pyroblasts for the post-sideboard games, though. Brainstorm. We are certainly just to Tendrils kills me time. I'm at 19. Opponent has a storm count of 9. So a Tendrils, a Beseech, a Burning Wish, like all that sort of stuff is just dead. Land drop. Dark Ritual. Notably, Barogoyf is now smaller. I might not have lethal anymore. It'll kind of depend on what happens All right, I am just dead. That's the tendrils. That'll do. GG. I would expect my opponent's deck to win in game one the vast majority of the time here. And then there's a pile of 2-drop hate cards. Here's some counter spells for Echo that can technically also be pointed at cantrips. Endurance is not particularly exciting. I guess I'll think about it. And probably not interested in this stuff. Go for the throats, and edicts can go. Abrupt decays technically can do stuff. Probably are going. Grist can definitely go. Malevolent Rumble will stay. It fishes for the sideboard creatures. Minskin Boo racks up damage quickly, but can probably go. Questing Beast and Pyrogoyf are both not overly exciting. Pyrogoyf is a decent amount of damage, but its damage can be greatly reduced by an Echo of Eons. Questing Beast's keywords don't super matter, but it has haste. Maybe Pyrogoyf's out here. This is assuming that I want to play Abrupt Decay for things like LEDs that are played out ahead of time due to Damping Sphere or whatever. Could also just do something like this and add a copy of Abrupt Decay to my suite. It's not a card that I expect to be consistently good. Same is true of Pyrogoyf. Play a second Abrupt Decay. I think our odds are pretty darn reasonable in game 2 and pretty bad in game 3. No. Yes. Hell yes. Squelcher back. Keep 3 lands. I might not need the 3rd land all that much here. I have 3 turns worth of creatures to play for turns 2, 3, and 4. Alright. This will be a Bayou. All Thoughtseize my opponent. So I could take some mana that's not doing anything right now, or I can take an eventual payoff card. I'm going to take the payoff card. Like, the Dark Ritual is something that eats extra damage from my... Oh, this is so much aggression. Alright, we'll do Taiga here. Throw down our hate card. Alright, opponent did not just immediately cycle Veil of Summer with that on the stack. They can now Surveil with Undercity Sewers. Junking another Veil, yeah. Thought that card was bad, which is... Well, maybe surveilling is more important to them right now than cycling this. Bloodstained Mire. Ass. And now I get to just go aggro. Attack for 5, then attack for 8. Yeah, seems good. We miss a land drop here, but Hand's Gas. I don't think that matters. In we go. Opponent to 17, then 14, then 13, presumably. They fetch their fucking Chetmir's Garden. No. Abo Seiju to play. And the haste damage off of this is so important, stacking with our Hate Bear. Hierarch is whatever. Game is not about anything else other than the stuff that is currently on the stack and in play. In opponent to 6, which means they do not have very many game actions before the Hate Bear kills them. So this is 5. Their turn probably needs to begin with Boomerang Basics. Or an equivalent card that gets this out of play. Oh, actually it's like very awkward on their mana, right? These 2 lands don't produce black for Dark Ritual. So Undercity Sewers can't both Boomerang Basics and cast Dark Ritual. Oh, that's very awkward. I wonder if opponent is currently realizing the same thing. Okay, there's the concession. GG. Now we got to do it again when we're on the draw, which is harder because it's like I only have 7 cards that are relevant on turn 1. I guess 9 if you count Endurance, but that's often not particularly relevant. Okay, I am willing to keep this here. On my turn 1, I have some defense versus Echo. On my turn 2, I have Collector Oof to shut off artifact mana. Not great versus my opponent turn 1ing me. Just that will be true across the board. I don't think I can do much better than turn 1 and turn 2 interaction in the average 7-card hand. Opponent is on 6 cards. Taiga? Gamble. Are we just doing Echo stuff immediately? Seems likely. And like one of the cool things about this Storm deck is you can really undo some bad opening hands here. And my opening hand is now shit. I don't have guaranteed turn 1 interaction into turn 2 interaction, and Taiga does not cast Thoughtseize. This is quite bad for me. Opponent is passing the turn, and I will have to make the decision about whether or not I hold up Pyroblast or do Ignoble Hierarch. I think I do Ignoble Hierarch given that draw. Like, this opens up a Hate Bear or opens up Thoughtseize with Pyroblast backup. Next land drop is a really big deal, though. Land drop 2. Opponent with 7 random-ish cards in their hand. See what happens. Underground Sea? Yeah, hopefully this is just a sculpting turn. Uh-oh. Romox? No imprint there. This is either just Building Storm or is a target to sacrifice to Beseech. It is for Beseech. This might be the stupid enchantment that I always forget the name of. Yeah, Song of Creation. So now all of my opponents, little spells will turn into draw 2s. Badlands. Let's just always yield to Song of Creation. The damage is done here. And this sort of thing is why I was very worried about the game where I was on the draw, because we just might not get the time to play something that looks like this. Like Mai and Douthie and Thoughtseize and Pyroblast are all great cards, but I do not have the mana to deploy them, and that is not due to lack of land drops here. It also does not take much to kill me from here. Holy shit, did we fizzle? Oh my god. My opponent discards their entire hand. Wow! I wonder if it was correct for my opponent to crack an LED for a called shot of mana in response to the last trigger. Neat. What a fucking draw. What a draw. Go grab a Bayou. So I will go ahead and Pyroblast the Song of Creation and destroy that. And is Douthie better here? Because Echo is my opponent's easiest way back into the game? I think so. Play Mai next turn. Everything worked out so perfectly for me. Opponent tapped and untapped Underground Sea. I think they have a cantrip. Probably means that casting Thoughtseize just gets them to cast a Brainstorm and leave a card in hand. I think I will go ahead and just play the Hierarch, send Douthie in for 5, knock them to 14, and then get them to put their spell on the stack. I guess not. Okay, it is a Boomerang Basics, so that costs them some life. Douthie goes back to my hand. Is my opponent's last card Echo? Alright, yes, it is. So I guess I'm very glad that I played Douthie out first. Echo definitely a little scary here. My opponent probably has to win this turn, or just attack for 4 plus a handful of spells ends up being lethal. Or alternatively, bouncing this out of play is fine. Alright, this is a sweet set of cards that do a ton of things. Let's see if I'm just dead, though. What ended up in exile from this? Oh, just the echoes. Nothing ended up with a void counter. Alright, that is a Brainstorm. Opponent to 6. So now this attack plus any other spell is lethal. Also, just Questing Beast, punch you in the face for 6 is also lethal. I suspect that at this point that my opponent is going to time out themselves. All right, maybe not. To 4. There's a Beseech under there. So I think my opponent is now dead. Active player triggers go on the stack first, then non-active player triggers. So my Mai trigger is going to resolve before whatever nonsense they do here. Yeah, so Mai trigger kills them before they get to gain any life for tendrils. All right, we win the match. GG. We're now positive in the league guaranteed with the greed pile. Awesome work, Rankia. It's doing its thing so far. All right, final round here. I would like the opening hand to have 1 more mana, but with Ignoble Hierarch and a way to get another land, this is good enough for me. All right, probably some Affinity style deck. We don't have Pinnacle Emissary on turn 1, which is nice, but opponent does have Emery. And they have a Bauble, so they do have something to do with said Emery. As we saw the last time we played this, I have an okay endgame versus this deck. The question is just going to be, do I get run over before anything else happens? Redraw. Oh, I have so much top end now. Let's get a Taiga and throw down a Hierarch. Opponent has card advantage coming. Card advantage doesn't get me dead. It's the Pinnacle Emissary that craps out 5 drones, or the Kappa Cannoneer that sneaks into play that is a problem, or Patchwork Automaton that grows 5 times in a turn. Witherbloom Command can also maybe do something here. Second mode could become relevant. Emery doesn't die to the third mode, unfortunately. We could try to get cheeky attack with Ignoble Hierarch Emery block. Emery almost certainly does a bobble, though. So I think that's off the table. Another seat. It's Patches. Then that'll grow by 1 immediately with bobble. And then I decide what I'm doing on my next turn. I probably just throw the Goyf down and hope that it works, rather than taking a turn off here. I would like to draw another land. Go for the Throat. Kind of interested in that. I think I'm going to play Squelcher. I think it is too important to shut off the counter spells here. Like, I know I can see 1 Force of Will, but my opponent is not vomiting 0 drops from their hand. So, like, what is it most likely they have? It's Kappa Cannoneers that are stuck or counter spells. I think I'm going to take the turn off to Squelcher. And if I miss a land drop, I have Pyrogoyf. And if I don't, I Pyrogoyf Emery and then play Pyrogoyf the next turn with a Pyrogoyf trigger. And the game is probably effectively over. Okay. Opponent can have a big turn here. If they do have a big turn here, it means that they were kind of holding back previously. Oh yeah. Looks like they were holding things. Or like draw step plus bobble redraw from the last turn. Made this all come together. Patchwork is so big. Don't think I can do a chump block here. Pyrogoyf also not as big as possible here. The artifact is floating in and out of the graveyard, although 1 should be there after triple Mishra's Bobble. Kappa Cannoneer to round out this turn would be a disaster. Oh, could be worse, I guess. All right, now we're going to get probably all 3 Bobbles sacked. Yup. Patchwork in for 7 with a whole bunch of drones here. I'm going to eat this down to 12. Then Pinnacle Emissary gets warped out. 3 redraws. Not a land drop. So that means it is Pyrogoyf. I mean, I guess this sends in. Not going to leave the lightning bolt on the table. So an issue here is that opponent can attack. I block with Pyrogoyf, we trade, and then Emery brings Patchwork Automaton back. And this can slowly start rebuilding what my opponent previously had. Oh god. So many bubbles. And Emery gets 1 more activation here. And we'll see Lava Spur Boots moved around after some bobble sacks. Another Emery? I don't know if that is really gaining you anything. No, I guess you don't put on Patchwork Automaton immediately. You put on Emery immediately and just do another bobble activation instead. This is a 5/6 currently, so it doesn't quite die to that one yet. I have lost track of how many cards my opponent is going to get on my upkeep. I know that the answer is too many, and I don't like it. Looks like my opponent... Oh, no, they are sending in with Patchwork. All right, block is obligatory, or I will die. Tradesies. I think my life total went up that turn. However, we should not necessarily view that as a good thing. All right, it is only 3 redraws. Ward 1 on this, Ward 2 on this. Pyrogoyf, Hexing Squelcher is fine. I think we're taking out this. Land drop. Pyrogoyf. Oh wait, this is spells. Shit, it's spells I control, not spells or abilities. I needed to think about this for half a second longer than I did. Shit. Base. So what should my line have been? It maybe was still this. But I could have Witherbloom Command, destroy Lava Spur Boots, get a land back, and then go for the Throat Emery. I am hoping I chump block with Patchwork. I chump block or just don't die in combat and then play a second Pyrogoyf and deal 10 to my opponent's face and they die. That's my plan. And the hope is I can do this with Hexing Squelcher still in play so that it is uncounterable and guaranteed. Pinnacle Emissary. That's hopefully fine. It's something like a Okay. Chump blocking Patchwork Automaton is not a thing anymore. Emery targets a bobble. Bobble cycles. Yeah. This is 12? This is 12. 12 is not 13? Oh, I think I win. Pyrogoyf, 10 damage to face. Attack for another 7. These can only block creatures with flying. This was warped. Yeah, my opponent should have moved boots somewhere, like here. 8 plus 4, 12. Yeah, no blocks. I'm at 1. Gets warped out. Can only block creatures with flying. And Force of Will is not on the table. Because of Hexing Squelcher. Greed pile, baby. Pyrogoyf. I think my opponent needs a Dismember. Base. Base. Opponent to 6. I am attacking for 7. In. Hot damn, we did it. GG. Incredibly close. What a small thing to lead to a loss there. With 1 more life, I have to chump block with Hexing Squelcher, meaning I miss 2 damage here, and my opponent gains more life. Wowzers. Alright. Pyroblast in, Culling Ritual in, Collector Oof in, then... what did I do before? Do I want Assassin's Trophy for Urza Saga? I think I erred on the side of not wanting this. Malevolent Rumble feels slow here. Thoughtseize doesn't feel necessary. My opponent is just going to cycle a bunch of stuff anyway. Assassin's Trophy is okay. Go for the Throat still kills Emery. It misses most of the other stuff, though. Pyroblast hits a lot of that stuff. Did I end with these out before? I want the Squelchers. I want the Baloths. Curator is slow at what it does. I think I will play these. Grist feels a little slow here as well. It makes chump blockers for when my opponent doesn't have trample. I think my endgame is about this stuff. I could see Questing Beast coming out. Put an Endurance in to fill. I could also just play Thoughtseize to help bridge to my very, very strong endgame. That would require like you out. I could buy that. Let's turn Questing Beast into an Endurance. If I had a touch more time, I would think about this a little more. Okay, my opening hand here is fine. I have some things to remove opposing creatures or otherwise interact with my opponent. I think there's a good chance they come out ahead of me on turn 1, though. Lotus Petal, Mox Opal, down to 18. Emery is very awkward here versus like my Thoughtseize opener. I can take Emery out on turn 2. Yep. I probably just get attacked for 2 here. I do. 18. Oh, the endgame is here. I will attempt to take whatever is in my opponent's hand. It's not a 0-drop. It might just be a land, and I might just be shocking myself. It is a Kappa Cannoneer. Happy to take that out of hand. And I can Abrupt Decay Emery, ignoring Ward next turn. If Emery taps, that's 2, 3, 4, 5. So opponent can't put a Kappa in play unless they have like a land or a 0-drop here. Opponent is having trouble paying for something. Okay, it is Pinnacle Emissary. Got it. The opponent can move the boots over and then cast a Lotus Petal from graveyard to get 1 friendo. Got it. I will take 4. We'll see if my hand is able to stabilize here. I still think I'm Abrupt Decaying the Emery. It represents bringing the Pinnacle Emissary right back. If I don't, margins on stabilizing here are incredibly tight. So my opponent should now move the Lava Spur Boots over to a drone token. So I take a lot. I'm at 6. I'll go to 5 and play Goyf, which means Pinnacle Emissary doesn't get in through it. I'll die to something like maybe a Kappa Cannoneer. Okay, they're just going to move the boots back at the cost of some life. That seems reasonable. So, okay, another Bayou, I think. This is a 6/7, and this doesn't fly. Gaining this 6 life probably wins me the game. My opponent has 1 card. That is a Bobble. My opponent can move the Lava Spur Boots to the drone and attack me for 3 in the air, but then I gain 6. This is not a good spot for them. Like, they can chump block with Pinnacle Emissary to keep me from triggering the Goyf. I don't know that that leaves them in a winning position, but getting a Goyf trigger and finding another Goyf would be disastrous. I guess I can see what my top card is going to be. All right, they do exactly what I thought they would, and crash in for 4, bringing me to 1. Tightest possible margins here. We are probably not casting Thought Seizes immediately is all I'm saying. Cool. Combat. In for 6 damage. Are you going to let me hit it, or are you going to block? You're going to let me hit it. What if another Goyf, though? What if another Goyf, though? Opponent to 8. Attempt another Pyrogoyf. Pyrogoyf resolves. Very nice. Greed pile. Greed pile win. Ooh, it's a Kappa Cannoneer. Surely that kills me, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, no, it has to be, you have to leave a mana. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, not tapping drones. So Kappa Cannoneer comes in, you move Lava Spur Boots to it, and I get hit for Exaxes. Okay, it'll be a little more than Exaxes then. That's 7 on its own. Son of a gun. Yeah, that with haste does it. Unblockable. Oh, that's so sad. We get to go to a game 3 though. GG, really and truly there. Fought like hell, couldn't quite make it work. With one more turn, like one way or another, we were winning that one. Okay, so let's reassess sideboarding. Damping Sphere is significantly better when I am on the play. I still don't know how I feel about it. It doesn't impact the stuff that is already in play. So when my opponent already has, you know, a Kappa Cannoneer or whatever in play, that does not help me out at all. I do it in a minute if I'm playing Ancient Tomb, and without Ancient Tomb, like, do I want to add a 19th 2-drop to the deck? Unsure. It's also a permanent that dies if I cast Culling Ritual. I don't know if that should be a deal breaker or not. I'm going to keep Thoughtseize and keep Damping Sphere out. I am unsure whether this deck wants to Thoughtseize to punch a hole to buy time, or whether it does not want to take the 2 points of life since the margins on this game are so incredibly tight. Keep. I mean, this is what I'm looking for, right? So this is Thoughtseize into Squelcher into 2 Goyfs in a row. That's about as good as I could draw it up. Opponent also has used a very significant amount of clock on the first couple of games, so that is potentially problematic for them. There is a Kappa Cannoneer that my opponent can't easily put into play. I think I am just taking their Emery to buy time, and then I just squelch into Goyf and assume that that ends up beating a Kappa Cannoneer. Basic Island. I think my opponent can play out their baubles. I don't think they can crack them. Another Emery off the top anyway. Must be nice. Their Emery does mean that my Goyfs grow, so, like, that's not nothing. This would be a pretty cool spot to draw a spot removal spell for Emery, though. I would do that over Squelcher, especially since I have looked at the cards in my opponent's hand. They don't really have the time here to be going into tank about whether or not they are cracking these and how many they crack. I think they have to make a call very quickly. All right, they decide not to. Ooh, hell yeah. So yes, I will make a land drop and take out the Emery immediately. And then we're just trying to get these online. And my opponent now is going to have to make the decision again. Are they keeping those in play or are they cycling them? All right, they are cycling both, which makes both Urza Saga and Kappa Cannoneer worse. So opponent will have 3 new cards in hand, 2 from those draws, 1 from turn. I imagine Urza Saga comes down immediately this turn. It does, and opponent passes. So now it becomes, do I have time to play Hexing Squelcher? Honestly, I think I do. Like, I am not scared of small Urza Saga tokens right now. I am not scared of the Kappa Cannoneer getting into play. I think I have the time to say no to counterspells. And if this eats a Dismember so that a Barogoyf or a Pyrogoyf gets to do its thing, I view that as largely positive. I wonder if that's what this pause is. Alright, Urza Saga goes up. Opponent has a relatively full grip. Let's see what they're working with. Aether Spellbomb is mighty interesting. Abrupt Decay is fine for whatever my opponent finds off of Urza Saga. Pyrogoyf this turn, I think. Then play Barogoyf the next turn, use its trigger with Death Touch to kill something. Yeah. Trigger to face. I don't get to attack in with Hexing Squelcher here. If I draw a land next turn, I can both Abrupt Decay and Barogoyf in the same turn cycle, which is pretty cool. 16. Opponent below 4 minutes on clock. At this point, I'm starting to wonder if they are just lagging very badly. Some of this was certainly them going into the tank for real, but I think they're missing out on a lot of stuff here. Alright, 4/4 token. Urza Saga trigger. Ooh, it's a Dismember. Opponent pays 2 more life from that for the ward. Going to 10. That does kill my creature. The timing of that is important because an enchantment was about to go to graveyard. It's now going to be like very key whether or not my opponent has a mana source to give both of these haste and attack immediately. Alright, they are going for Shadow Spear, which I can answer with Abrupt Decay. I'm not overly concerned about that. I probably get the same amount of life out of this card next turn as I do this turn. I think I will just take this hit, leave Squelcher in play, so that I can potentially play Barogoyf uncounterably. Opponent has some good tools here. I'd like to hit a land drop. I mean, yeah. I am just going to... Oh no, those 2 cards already work like that because of Urborg. So there's Barogoyf. I'll pass the turn. Opponent has some good tools here. I should have thought a touch longer about whether or not I should just Abrupt Decay the Spell Bomb. I think the answer is no. Wow, playing that as a land? When that can just bounce one of my creatures? That seems wild. Opponent to 7. Hexing Squelcher Ward is certainly relevant. Looks like they're trying to get Kappa Cannoneer into play at all costs. Alright, understood. So that gets bigger, and then they want to bounce this. Alright, got it. I don't think I need to Abrupt Decay. There's very few draws that I can draw that I can't do with Abrupt Decay as well. It's like basically Pyrogoyf. A second Abrupt Decay. Got it. So I go to combat, I attack, I force the Spellbomb activation, ward, pay 2 life, return this to hand, then I replay it and hold open 1 Abrupt Decay. And this is probably the turn where I lose Hexing Squelcher to a chump block. Maybe I needed to decay something on the end step previously. Opponent might time out here in trying to figure out what they are doing. My plan is block, construct, Abrupt Decay, Shadow Spear. Another Kappa? Another Kappa. 4 seconds remaining on clock. My opponent is going to time out. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the game of playing Magic Online. If you were lagging, you probably needed to reboot. Otherwise, you needed to spend less time in the tank. I am not sure if I end that one, if I win that one, if the game goes on. Would have been pretty close. I have some crazy haymakers I can draw there. GG's, we get the 4-1. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Overall thoughts on the Greed pile. Way better than I was expecting, honestly. I was really worried at 20 lands that on average we weren't going to deploy our big expensive things. And while there were definitely some times where we could not deploy all of our cards, for the most part we played very meaningful Magic most of the time. I largely like the balance of cards in this list. It's possible that like some tightening up can still happen. So for example, I would probably get rid of Keen-Eyed Curator. The deck is already doing a ton with its mana in terms of trying to cast these cards, so I think activating this is not the most realistic. I would maybe turn that into a 4th Ignoble Hierarch to just increase the chance that you can jump the curve to this, or on turn 3 play 2 separate 2-drops. I think that's reasonable. Not sure on Witherbloom Command versus Malevolent Rumble numbers. Witherbloom Command is something that can kill Planeswalker Tamiyo, which is kind of relevant, and it also helps fuel Pyrogoyf and Barogoyf, but like, is this supposed to be a 2/2? Is it supposed to be a 3/1 in one direction? Is one of them just better than the other and it should be a 4 of? I don't know that without playing more. It's a little hard to tell how good these cards are when you don't get to see your opponent's hand at the end of the game, but from what we could see, and occasionally taking time off to play around counterspells, I think they were largely good. I'm not sure if we want to sacrifice our own creatures to Grist. Like, I'm into the Grist Plus. If the Grist Plus happens and you can Grist minus using the insect token, that's fine. I don't think this deck is particularly good at Grist minus immediately, or Grist as a 3-mana play. This would be another card that I would consider tweaking the numbers on. But generally speaking, I'm going to give this one a thumbs up. This was a lot of fun to play. This was a good way to spend an afternoon. I hope you all liked it. If you have any thoughts, feel free to throw them down in the comments below. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya.